Szép jó napot kívánok! Welcome everyone. It's so nice to see you here at the Cleveland Hungarian Museum. Before we begin, I'd like to call your attention to a fabulous new exhibit to your left, my right, in remembrance of the 1848-49 War of Independence. And this is the Edward Minach collection. So please take a look at it at your convenience or during the break at the end. It's really very worthwhile. And we thank the curator of the museum for his effort in pulling it together. Bundy, thank you.
Good job.
We have a brand new crowd here, new faces today. This is really exciting, and we welcome you all to the lecture, and it is my privilege. My name is Clara Papp, on behalf of the lecture committee, to introduce today's speaker. Dr. John Gyékényesi is the Structures and Materials Division Engineer at the NASA Glenn Research Center, retired, and adjunct professor of mechanics at Cleveland State University. He holds a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in mechanical engineering from Case Western Reserve University and a PhD in mechanics from Michigan State University. He authored and co-authored more than 80 scientific publications. He lectured widely in the USA, Europe, and the Far East, mainly on the durability and structural integrity of aircraft and spacecraft using advanced materials. I'll bet those of you played soccer with him don't even know all this about him. For 20 years, he was manager of one of NASA's largest mechanics research department, focused on propulsion and power systems. But he has a whole other life that he is going to tell us about during today's lecture, and that is soccer and bringing soccer to the United States of America and Cleveland, Ohio. Welcome, Dr. John Gyékényesi.
Well, thank you for the introduction. Indeed, I'd like to thank the museum and Andrea and John Sigeti, the president, for inviting me to talk about soccer, my other life, and very dear to my heart and very close. I'm still active in soccer, not as a player, but as a federation officer. I can still talk, but I cannot run like I used to. So talking is a lot easier. But anyway, I was here at the beginning, and I saw the growth of soccer in the USA, not only in Ohio, but in other states. And today, finally, soccer arrived, so to say, that it's one of the major sports in this country for all the population and people living here in the US. So let me start with a little introduction. Cleveland amateur soccer started in 1904 with 4 teams. 1 English, 1 Irish, 1 Scotch, and 1 Hungarian. The 4th team was a Hungarian team. It was sponsored by a grocery store. They called it Vice Bácsi, was the starter of the Hungarian team. FIFA arrived a few years later. In 1913, the US Federation was formed and became a part of the worldwide soccer organization, FIFA. Soccer remained an immigrant sport. Americans just simply didn't take to it. The Americans had an isolation movement. Anything come from the outside was bad. Only thing good was what he invented here in the US. This was a political movement that was transferred to sports also. So American games like baseball, football, basketball a little bit, hockey a little bit, but the 2 big ones were strictly played by Americans. Nobody else plays baseball at a high level, and nobody else plays football at a high level. So anyway, soccer had to arrive on the scene and introduce the Americans to soccer. Professional soccer in the United States started after the 1966 World Cup in England. Germany and England played a game, It was telecast to the US, and it was a popular television telecast. As a result, many rich people got together to decide to form an American Professional Soccer League. It was called the North American Soccer League. And from Cleveland, we had a franchise. The owner was a Hungarian politician named Metzenbaum. He's the one that formed the Cleveland Stoker soccer team in 1967, and he did bring British professional players, so his team was actually a very good team, much higher level than college soccer or amateur soccer. Unfortunately, only 5,000 people was the average attendance at the games, and after 2 years he decided to close the team down and said the USA was not ready for professional soccer. Then we had no youth soccer at all. There was a small professional league on the east coast of the US, and only foreign adults played the game before. No American-born players were found anywhere. Cleveland adult soccer restarted in 1950, and many of the World War II refugees from the Russian invasion of Central Europe made soccer possible. Croatians, Serbians, Ukrainians, Poles, Hungarians, Germans, Schwabens, all these nationalities came in large number. So 50,000 of us came to Cleveland, and we decided that we'll not join the Indians baseball or the Cleveland Browns football. We're gonna introduce America to soccer. 50,000 of us got together. Croatians played a major role, Serbians, Germans, Hungarians, and we said, we're gonna teach this backward country. When I came here and there was no soccer, I cried day and night. But anyway, we decided to make a change, and that's really what happened. Then we had a minor league in addition to the North American Soccer League, which returned. But mainly it was immigrants who played the game. And even today, many immigrants come through the southern border. You can see the TV news. But all of them are fortunately more soccer cultured and oriented than baseball or football. But today we have reached a stage where finally soccer is accepted as a part of US games. So football, basketball, baseball, hockey, and finally soccer is on the map also. Next. Well, my soccer career started back in the summer of 1944 in a little southern Somogy County village. The soccer field is still there. I visited it last year. Well, they added a few seats. They cut the grass maybe a little better, and they added a statue of a soccer player cut out of wood. But this is where I started with my older brother in 1944, and that's when soccer was put in my blood. It was just not removed from there. Where are you?
Where are you? On this picture.
Well, I'm there, but arrived in Cleveland. I arrived in Cleveland in 1953 with the immigrants from the Second World War, and Cleveland had a small league of immigrants, mainly about 10 teams. There was one Hungarian team, which was the champion team, and it was sponsored by St. Stephen's Club. Since I was 15 years old and there was no youth soccer anywhere, I begged them to please let me play with the adults, and they did. So this was the champion team, and here I am sitting as a 15-year-old boy. We did win the Ohio Championship. We did win the Cleveland Championship. There were many good players that played in Hungary good level soccer. A year later, St. Stephen's Club celebrated its 50th anniversary, and they designed and created a tablet documenting the success of this team in early 1950s in Cleveland. In addition to the Cleveland soccer team, Gyula Farkas here in a hat formed a younger team in 1955 because there were just too many players in the St. Stephen's Club. I went to play with this team for a year. Here I am, one of the younger players. And this team played for about 3-4 years. These two guys, this is the son, Gyula, the son of the coach. This is Kunz Géza. Both of these guys just died within 6 months. The others I don't really know too much about. This is John Mode, the brother of Elizabeth Borosdi Mode. So, and also Salab Chenyi, here is the brother of Itzo Hun, who is also here. So anyway, this was another team next. And then in 1956, we had the Hungarian Revolution. A lot of young people came from Hungary, and they practically all played soccer. So that meant that every Hungarian community got a soccer team. We had a soccer team in Toledo, in Elyria, in Akron, in Youngstown, in Erie, Pennsylvania. In Cleveland, we had 5 soccer teams, Hungarian. So everywhere soccer was king, and all these people continued to play soccer. Now, this was a new team formed because St. Stephen's had too many players. It was called the Freedom Fighters team, so they had to start in the 2nd division, but they immediately won the 2nd division, got promoted. Here I am, one of the players. These are other players. Most of them are out of Cleveland. They're not here in Cleveland anymore, or died. Older players like Farkas died. This was the bigger team, St. Stephen 1958, and this was the strongest team probably in the first 3 of Ohio North. Frank Chory was the president of St. Stephen's Club and also president of the Ohio North Soccer Federation. So actually I inherited his job. So one Hungarian handed it to another Hungarian. But these are all players. Here I am, one of the taller players, and many of them are now dead or gone. This person was the coach. On the left side, we have Németh Ferenc Frank. His daughter is over here, I think. And this was the newspaper reporter in the Hungarian newspaper, Lendvai Joe. He took a lot of pictures of all Hungarian events and published it. So anyway, this was the biggest team. At the same time, I started school at Case Institute, and American schools and colleges started to make soccer teams. Fank College made a team. Case Institute made a team. Because I scored 90% of the goals, they put the soccer ball in my hand when they took most of these guys were all foreign students. The few Americans that were on the team played very little soccer. So I used to score 3-4 goals a game, so it was really easy for an experienced guy. And then the best school team was always Akron University. They had a good organizer. He spent money to recruit foreign students, and his team was the Ohio champion, school champion all the time. Even today, Akron U has the best soccer team of all the Ohio schools, better than Ohio State, which is much bigger. Well, actually, in the mid-1960s, the Italians decided to form a select team to make the team much stronger than just Italians. So they recruited different nationalities. From the Hungarians, they recruited me. From the Germans, they have Fritz here. From the Poles, they have 2 more Polish players, a Scottish player, a Serbian player, and Baroni became a soccer organizer, their captain of the soccer team. This was the best team for about 3-4 years in the mid-1960s. As I said, it was a select team. Then in 1973, we had the Cleveland Magyar Athletic Club organized, take over from St. Stephen's, the sponsorship. And this is the team with Bishop Szabó István, the president of the United Hungarian Society, Kemes Laci, and the organizer of the CMAC program, Joe Haberman. Joe Haberman was a major player in Cleveland Hungarian soccer for many years. Unfortunately, at age 70, he died of prostate cancer. They did not have any cure at that time. Here is Árpád Szentkirály, another unlucky, very good soccer player who crashed with his airplane, the brother of Mr. Szentkirály is standing over here. and he died in a crash of his airplane. And these are other players. My brother Andy was my teammate in many players, but this was again a third or fourth best team out of 12 teams. It wasn't the best, but it was close to the top. And again, we received help from the club and also from United Societies. This is a team picture from the Cleveland Hungarian Athletic Club, essentially the same players. Here is Eugene Horváth, who became a professional player and also was, I say, the best soccer player among the Hungarians. And we had other players here, all of them experienced players, none of them were beginners. Now, after the Hungarian team, they decided to rejuvenate the CMAC team, the CMAC there, and told the older players to find another team because we're going to replace you with younger players coming from Lake Plata. So we said, okay, we will go and see another club. And immediately the Serbians recruited 4 Hungarian players from CMAC, Majoros Frank, myself, my brother, and Lati Sabo, who came from Subotica or Sobotka originally. But this Serbian team was sponsored by St. Sava Church. It was a team that won every game throughout the year. I never played on a team that could beat every team. Croatians, the big enemy. The other Serbian team, the other big enemy. Then the Germans, Hungarians, also enemy. But anyway, this team was the best team I ever played on. And like I say, they won every game they played. Next. Now, I'd like to mention another important Hungarian that played a major role with the professional soccer team, Cobras, and youth soccer in Hungarian village, Lake Plata. Mickey Jánosi was the owner of a steel fabrication shop. He had the money to play with, so he joined the Cobra ownership as one of the main owners. In this year, 1979, he was the president. He's the guy who insisted on hiring me as the general manager. So in 1974, when he joined the Cobras, and another Hungarian, Béla Pusik, and another half Hungarian from Vienna, Herman, 3 out of the 5 owners were connected with Hungary, so they wanted a Hungarian manager at all costs. And because I was the league president at that time and still playing reasonably good soccer, they said, you must be our manager. And I said, I don't need any salary from you, but you give me 10% ownership in the club. If we sell the club for $1 million, maybe down the line, then I get 10%. Unfortunately, it didn't happen like that, but anyway, they gave me 10%. The coach was a local German, Herbie Haller. As it turned out, his father was a German soldier in 1944 who died in the Battle of Budapest. When the Russian army was besieging Budapest in 1944, his father was defending it and he died there. We had other staff members, I just showed them over here. Olinto Busetto was the major Italian player and coach, and he's the one who recruited me to Italian soccer. But Tom Hatfield is very much known for the big book that he wrote, and let me just hold it up. This book is 800 pages, all about Cleveland soccer history. It focuses mainly on youth soccer, school soccer, professional soccer, and amateur adult soccer. So it's a tremendous document for anybody who is interested in Cleveland soccer. Tom Hatfield was the author of the giant book. Here's a team picture of the Cleveland Cobras. This was, I think, in 1979. I am the general manager. We had a new president, Eric Henderson from England, the coach, Herbie Haller. But here is Eugene Horváth, the best Hungarian player at the time, and he was playing on the Cobras maybe for 4 or 5 years. So I did play with him on the Hungarian team. I followed his career at Cleveland State. He was an excellent athlete and then later became a very successful businessman. But this was the team picture then. Now, a couple important people. In 1975, we invited the Polish national team, which was the Olympic gold medal team, and also finished third in the 1974 World Cup in Germany, where Germany was first and Holland was second, Poland was the third. But the game was held downtown in the municipal stadium. This is the welcoming team. Here is the president of Cobras, Howard Collier. Here I am as a general manager. And Ohio Governor Richard Celeste welcomed the team officially with Ohio mementos, and later on a big banquet in the Polish neighborhood. So it was a very successful game. We had 15,000 people at the game, and only about 2-0 loss. So very modest loss, luckily, against one of the best teams in the world. But Eugene played in that game and played very well. Now, it was the custom for the Cobras that every first game in every year, the mayor of Cleveland, Ralph Burke, came to kick off the first ball. And it so happens in 1975, I was general manager, so it was my job to entertain the mayor at the sideline, tell him about soccer since he didn't know anything about soccer. But I told him we have to kick the ball in the net. It registered in his head. So he did understand the basics of soccer. But here I am on the sideline explaining to him. And this happened every year with the Cobras. Later on, different mayors came, including Vojnovic, who became mayor, and Dennis the Menace also. All of them came to kick off the season for the Cobras. Now, it was the custom of the league, Lake Erie Soccer League, to have a banquet, awards banquet. And at the awards banquet, this is a picture at the old Hofbrau House. The main speakers were invited from the outside, and this was the mayor of Cleveland, Mayor Ralph Burke. He was our main speaker. This is Howard Collier, the Cobra president, and I was the league president at that time with my first wife, Erika Shari, one of the original Cleveland Hungarian girls. But anyway, we always had these banquets. The first banquet, I had 1,000 people, I couldn't fit them. I was shocked at the attendance. But later on, I told all the teams, don't bring more than 20 or 30 people to the banquet, so no more than 500 people, so we can accommodate the guests. Andy, you were at these banquets, I'm pretty sure. Andy is a Croatian manager, and he was participating. Now, Mayor Earl and Mayor Burke and his politics, he, of course, depended on the nationalities to elect him. The black population at that time was not 80% in Cleveland, but only maybe 20%. But he relied on the nationalities. And this was the Hungarian delegation that went to City Hall to discuss with him Hungarian issues. I got invited. He knew I was Hungarian born, so I got invited with the Hungarian delegation. This is Gyula Nádas, this is Lőte Pál, this is Sirsis László, this is the plumber Menyhart, he was the head of the United Hungarian Societies. Eszterhás, the Hungarian paper publisher and author, Perk, two of his assistants, Irene and Taras. Then this is Karacsándy Kismárton, who came from Argentina, the poet. And this is Gyán Nádas, the head of the Hungarian Association. So once a year, he invited this group usually to discuss Hungarian issues in Cleveland, Ohio. And I got to be part of this delegation. And not only did he invite me, he gave me a certificate of appreciation for making soccer go in Cleveland, Ohio. So this was my first recognition, so to say, that I did something good for the city of Cleveland. Next. Now, so who are some of the famous players at the time? In 1976, Pelé visited Cleveland, Ohio. In 1976, I was a soccer leader already, so the game was sponsored by the Cleveland Browns downtown stadium. And they asked me to be the tour guide of Pelé because, of course, they didn't know anything about soccer. They knew that I knew soccer, so they invited me. I took Pelé around Cleveland, but most importantly, he had a Brazilian colleague with him that spoke English while he did not. And they called him Dr. Julio. And Dr. Julio graduated from Michigan State like I did. So we immediately became colleagues and friends. So Pele was a very pleasant person, easy to talk to, and he talked to me about his experiences against Hungarian teams. He played against Hungarians many times, and he valued Hungarian soccer. Old Hungarian soccer was very similar to modern Croatian soccer. They finished twice second in the World Cup. Hungarians did back in 1938 and 1954. Croatians did more recently, only 5 or 6 million Croatians, yet they finished second twice. Now Puskás came to Cleveland also 3 times. In 1967 and 68, he coached in the previously mentioned North American Soccer League. He was the coach for Vancouver. And he came to Cleveland and played with the Vancouver against the Cleveland Stokers in 1967 and 68. Later on, he returned in 1985. This picture was taken in that year. By that time, he became a chubby person, old person. Don't jump. And he was also a very pleasant person. He liked to eat and drink. So for first thing, said, "Hey boys, where are we going to celebrate?" That was his favorite question. And we said, "We'll find you a good bar and it'd be good food and good drinks." And then he told us some tall stories about Real Madrid, but he was actually the best Hungarian player. And this is Fabian Korcsi, a local guy that was with us. This reception was at the Cleveland Hungarian Club. Next. Now, in 1980, I had the honor of the president of the US inviting the Cobra Soccer League to the White House to discuss soccer in the USA. This is the welcoming scene. We had a conference room. He was at the door, and he welcomed me as the Cleveland general manager and representative. And here is Ron Newman, the best-known indoor soccer coach at the time in the United States. He was just watching my greeting of President Carter. And then he found out from my talk that I wasn't born in the US. He said, "Where were you born?" So I said to him, "I'm from Hungary originally, and obviously English is my second or third language, to be honest." He said to me, "Wait a minute, I just had the issue with the return of the St. Stephen's crown to Hungary." He asked me, this was 1980, but he returned the crown like the year before. And he asked me, "Would you have returned the crown to the communist government and John Kadar, the dictator of Hungary?" And I said to him, "You know, I think this communist government is no longer the killer communist government. They got a little capitalism now, Gulyás communism, they called it." So I said, this guy probably will not destroy the Hungarian crown, because we were all worried, Hungarian refugees, that the communists take a hold of the St. Stephen's crown and chop it up and sell it to some souvenir guy. Actually, fortunately, he didn't do it, János Kádár. He displayed the crown in the Hungarian parliament. So if you go to Budapest today, you can see the crown over there. But anyway, Carter was a very pleasant president, interested in soccer. And eventually, we sold Cleveland Cobras to Atlanta, the hometown of Carter. So, now, it was the custom of the time that at every Scout Day, German Central, we had Hungarian soccer playing. This was a game back in the early 1980s, and there are 2 important Hungarians that I should mention. John Nemeth was the president of St. Stephen's Club when it burned down, and Joe Pastor was the custodian of the St. Stephen's Club when it burned down. After all the debris was cleared and they recovered some insurance money, John Nemeth and Joe Pastor donated some $25,000 left over to the Hiram Cultural Center. Actually, they could have walked away with it, to be honest. Nobody really knew. So they were very good, honest Hungarians interested in Hungarian issues and always supported Hungarian soccer in Cleveland. Here are some players, including my brother who played in this game. But we had usually two games. The second team played early, like 2 o'clock, and the first team played at 4 o'clock. We played against Guelph, Ontario. Laurent just discovered the name, Guelph, Ontario. They had a very good team that came to play against Cleveland from Ontario. We beat them 3-2 in a very even game. So, Laurent, for your information, this was in the 1970s yet, Guelph, Ontario. Now, the Hungarian team from Cleveland went to Toronto. And I took two good players, Tomo Sondic, the best Croatian player out of Cleveland, and Imre Barat, the best Hungarian player out of Cleveland. And the rest of them were young players, Miki Janossi, the son of the former Miki Cobra owner, and my sons, Tom and Andrew. They were playing in this game, and I was very proud to have a team where the father was playing with two sons on the same adult team and the same time for some years, like 5-6 years. This was a Cleveland team picture of the same team with Joe Pastor, myself, and my two sons, Andrew and Tom. So this never happened before, that an old man played still soccer and he had two sons playing at the same level. This was the highest level in Cleveland, Ohio, not the lowest. It wasn't just a fun game. It was sometimes for blood. So I was very proud that I had two sons here that took my hobby and culture in soccer, and they followed my footsteps. They did the same in engineering because they all became NASA engineers like I was. So I was able to brainwash them early that there are only two things important in life: soccer and NASA, outside of family, of course. But they obeyed me, luckily, and they did become NASA engineers. They still work there now. They're still young enough to work. And then I, of course, retired. Now, this is one of the best teams that played at German Central at the Scout Picnic back in 1989. I had a collection of outstanding players, and we beat our opponent. I think it was Lake Plaza, the other Hungarian team, like 7-0. I had the best talent, like I say, best forwards. This is the son of Molnár Lajos, the guy who published Szityakör newspaper. So he played on our team. My son Andrew, my son Tom, and other players. This is Moore, Norby Moore from North Homestead, if you remember the Moore family, Hungarian family with the name Moore. So he had a brother named Thomas Moore, and we all know from history who is Tom Moore in England. But anyway, it was a very good team, and we really had a good performance. Now, in 1999, the Women's World Cup competition was held in the USA. The US team won the World Cup in front of 100,000 people in California. President Clinton was at the game. His daughter played soccer. And they got the World Cup. Then in the same year, we had the federation meeting in Louisville, Kentucky. I went there to represent Ohio, as usual. But they offered the chance of taking a picture with the World Cup, FIFA World Cup. And I said, hell, I want to hold it in my hand, take my picture. Even Puskás could not take the World Cup in his hand and hold it and have a picture taken. But I did. So it was an extremely proud moment for me. And then in 2007, they established the Hall of Fame for adult soccer. I'm inducted here. There are about 70 members there today, but only one Hungarian. I am the only Hungarian among the 70 inducted. So I carried the Hungarian flag in many meetings involving US soccer. Then from 1980 to 2000, we no longer had outdoor professional soccer. We had indoor professional soccer, the Cleveland Force and the Cleveland Crunch. Both of them were good teams, but we organized indoor teams, and they were also excellent teams. And here is the team that in 1992 we beat the Croatians, which was a tremendous accomplishment. And here is Fekete Zoli, he's sitting over here. He scored a fantastic goal from far away against the Croatians, even made a hole in the net. And I said, I never seen anybody score like that. And I think he's here, but this was a very good team, a lot of players from the outside. Let me just say that. Since I was the head of soccer in Ohio, I had to be connected always with a good team. I could not go any competition and go a bad team and lose like a dummy. So I collected, if I did not have enough Hungarian good players, I invited other nationalities to play with me, just make sure that I had a very good team. They put on the Hungarian shirt. Nobody knew they were Hungarians or not. The Hungarian shirt was important, nothing else. So these teams won indoor soccer championship, the latest one in 2000. And here is Shimon Zoli, who's sitting over here, and other. But I recruited like Zoran Karic, the best Cleveland professional soccer players. And we had others, Joe Fahér, they came from Transylvania and Hungary. This team was, I was coaching it, and helping me was Regala Tibi. So this team was undefeated, won every game. Same thing for this team, won every game. We had mainly Hungarians on this team. Here is, like I say, Zoli. And then we had other teams winning, but in the 10-year increments, we played soccer in 10-year increments. So in the 1980s, we won the championship 3 times, indoor championship. In the 1990s, we won the championship 3 times. In the 2000 to 2010 decade, we won the championship 3 times again. So we never had a bad team. I mean, it was very important to me to have a good team. And I went out of my way, even paying some guys, just to have a good team, because I had to, as an Ohio chief of soccer, I couldn't go there with a collection of dummies. So I had to really have a good team. And these are pictures, very pleasant families. Now, as I mentioned, the first World Cup, Men's World Cup, was played in 1994. And that's the World Cup where we made $200 million profit. They gave us, FIFA gave us the World Cup that we will use the profit money to start a new professional league, the MLS, the current professional league. So the United States national team came to Cleveland. They had a Serbian international coach, Bora Milutinovic, very good coach. I and my colleague, Gianfranco Baroni, we welcomed them. This is Greg Berhalter, who was the captain of the US national team in 1993. Since then, of course, he became the Columbus Crew coach for 5 years. And after that, he's currently the US national team coach and was the national team coach for the last 5 years. So you can see soccer is not always easy. Look how much hair he's got here. And not much left over here. So he did have to worry a little bit. But every day, I got to know Berhalter back in 1993. We made a lot of money, and then we started the MLS. The MLS almost collapsed a few years later, but there were 2 billionaires that saved the league. Lamar Hunt, the oil man from Texas, was the #1 saver. There were 12 teams in MLS. Each owner owned 6 because they had no other owners. So Lamar Hunt had 6 teams, and the beer king from Denver, Anschluss, owned the other 6. So they had 6 teams owner from Denver and 6 team owner actually from Columbus, because Lamar Hunt made his headquarters in Columbus. Now, the Hungarian players in Cleveland continued with old-time retired Hungarian teams. This was in Hudson. They had a tournament every year around 2007. And these guys are all retired Hungarian soccer players from Cleveland. Here is Shimon Zoli, who's sitting over here. Croatians all had a good team. It was called ANSI for 2 guys. C stood for Carrasco. I don't know the N. But they owned the facility. And here is Tomoga, Here is my son Tom, here is my other son Andrew, Szabó, Pityu, Ragala, and Fekete-Vili, Fehér Józsi, Károly, Molnár. I mean, this is a Fabian Korcsi on the side. My son up front, this is Tomoga, and others, Ákos, Harmat Ákos, and then Koszorú Gabi. So anyway, all these guys played there for about 3-4 years. So I took a picture to document them playing. Now, in my meetings with the federation, I also met the coaches, the team coaches. This is Bob Bradley, who was the coach in 2011. This picture is from Las Vegas, where our national meeting was held. So I talked to him a little bit about coaching the national team. And his son, also Bob Bradley, has been the captain of the U.S. national team for 10 years. He plays in the MLS, still plays in the MLS. So Bob Bradley is a well-known name in U.S. soccer. Later on, I met Jürgen Klinsmann, who was the best German forward. This meeting was in Miami, Florida, and at that time I had a chance to talk to him. Andy Spiranovic, sitting here, also talked to Jürgen Klinsmann at that time. He was a surprisingly good talker. He was not an accident that he became a coach. He's coaching now in South Korea, so he's still coaching all over the world. He was the best German player on the German national team when they won the World Cup. He scored all the goals. But anyway, sometimes I wore my Cleveland shirts also. So I met some of the coaches at these meetings next. And here, my good luck led me to the Federation president, Carlos Cordeiro. Carlos Cordeiro was a young boy when he came from Colombia and settled in Miami. As it turned out, it was a Hungarian family named Juhász who gave them the first job, the first apartment, and got them going in the United States. Ever since then, he loves Hungarians. And when he found out by campaigning in the USA that I was a Hungarian-born chief in Ohio, he took extra special care. He went to Bratislava not much later, 2018, and met Sándor Csányi, the Hungarian billionaire. He's the federation chief in Hungary, also Hungary's richest man, so he's well-to-do and friend of Orban. And they made friends because he likes Hungarians because of the original meeting. They talked about me, and Csányi asked him, do you have any Hungarian-born federation officer in the US Federation? And Carlos said, yes, in Ohio the chief is Hungarian-born. So after that, Carlos paid special attention to me. He came to Cleveland many times. I welcomed him, obviously. Go ahead, show the next picture. He made arrangements that I should go and see Csányi in Budapest. And he wanted Csányi to recruit European countries to vote for the USA to have the World Cup in 2026 in the United States. Now, Carlos was a smart man. He figured Western Europeans are loaded with Morocco citizens. They will all vote for Morocco, Spain, France, Holland, Belgium, England. Because they have millions of Morocco citizens, they're going to be forced to vote. The competition for the USA was Morocco. So this Carlos guy figured out the Central Europeans don't have any Morocco citizens. They can vote wherever they want to. So this guy Csányi, who is a FIFA vice president for Central Europe, convinced all the neighbors like Poland, Czechs, Slovaks, Serbians, Croatians, Slovenians. They all voted for the United States. So because of this smart thinking by this Latino president of ours, we got the World Cup. I don't know the final count, but they knew ahead of time that the Americas, South, Central, North will vote for the US. But they also knew that all of Africa will vote for Morocco, all the Arab countries, Middle East will vote for Morocco, Asians again, maybe Morocco. So they had to have enough others to vote and win the FIFA selection, and we did. Then after my becoming somewhat known in Hungary through a couple newspaper articles and radio programs, they featured me as a Hungarian soccer prophet in the United States. Now that made me known in Hungary. I was myself surprised how good a report they wrote. And after that, the Hungarian government office, which is in charge of publishing Hungarian literature and books, published a book about 200 famous Hungarians who were born in Hungary, but they achieved their success outside of Hungary. And from Cleveland, they put in two people. They put me in as a soccer prophet. I was shocked, but you know, people like Tony Curtis, Johnny Weissmuller, Spitz, all the famous American Hungarians are in there. And they called me into the office where the book was published. This is named as Zsolt, a government official. And under very nice circumstances, they presented this book, that here you are recognized as a soccer prophet and feel good about it. So I said, thank you very much. I never thought I'll make it so far, but I'll accept the book, and I was happy about it. Next. Now this is the Hungarian team in 2015 participating in the Las Vegas Árpád Cup. You can see here Simon Zoli, you can see here Fehér Józsi, you can see Pároska, you can see Flóri, other Hungarians, Tarán Sanyi, myself on the side here. This was reasonably good, but did not win the championship. Laurent Chibi is here also, so he already played on the team. So we had a reasonably good team, carried the flag for Ohio, but we could not win the championship. Then later on, this we did maybe in 7-8 tournaments. Okay, this we did in 7-8 tournaments in Las Vegas. Then next. Next. Now we had the tournament Árpád Cup in 2019 in Cleveland, Ohio. It was Chibi Laurent who actually organized it. We had two teams from Cleveland in the competition. This was the first team. You see Chibi Laurent, you see Zoli Simon, you see Pároska, Flóri, other Hungarians. And this team did well, but really did not win the championship. And then we had a second Cleveland team in the Árpád Cup tournament, more old-timers in this, Tamoga, Árpád, Perecki, Fekete Vili, Molnár, Jánosi Feri, and here others, my son, Molnár Miki. So anyway, a collection of old-timers, Tamoga István. Finally, we got an all participating team picture. 130 players participated in the Schwaben Soccer Center in North Homestead. And we took a picture of the 130 players that participated in this Árpád Cup tournament. And they are hoping to have the next Árpád Cup tournament, the 2024, in Detroit, Ohio, pretty soon. Now this is the current Ohio leadership. As you can see, I'm still the president. I cannot run anymore, but I can still talk and remember things. Our vice president and chief of referees. But I have other two Hungarians on the board. Kálmán Tóth, the treasurer for 30 years. We have the secretary, Laura Chibi. We have John Ragus from the Croatian sitting over here. The others are league presidents that are members in Ohio North. So these are the current Ohio soccer leaders. Next. These are pictures from the current leadership. This is Cindy Cohn, who was elected last year as president of the American Federation in San Diego. And here I am with our vice president. This is a picture in Florida this year when we elected new presidents and leaders for the Adult Association. I tended to know everybody in the federation. The new federation vice president was elected. His name is Nathan Goldberg. And he came to Cleveland, Ohio, wearing the Hungarian national team shirt. I was really shocked because none of the American leaders ever came to Ohio with the Hungarian national team shirt. So he came to Cleveland, and obviously I told him he's got our vote after showing up with the Hungarian national team shirt. And he was indeed elected just recently in Dallas, Texas, where the national meeting was held. And he's featured there with two of us from Northern Ohio and the soccer leader from Southern Ohio. So anyway, it was a successful meeting again in Dallas, Texas, and we were well represented, so to say, from Ohio North. And finally, we visited Nagyvárad, Transylvania recently, and because Turkish Martin, the green coat there on the right, wrote two Hungarian reports about my career, we did meet him personally first, but then we were invited to the father's house, famous Püspök László Turkish, who led the revolution against the Ceausescu regime back around 1990 or 1989. And he loves soccer also, so actually we had a pleasant discussion about soccer in the USA and also soccer in Transylvania and his family involvement. I did tell him that I did not shake the hand of such a brave man before. I did shake the hand of many soccer players at banquets, but never a brave man like he was. If you all know the story, he led a very violent revolution where they killed the communist dictators in Romania. But he was the Romanian representative to the European Union in Brussels for a while, but he said the politics turned to be too much on the left side of the agenda, and he rather quit and went into retirement. So right now he's a retired representative from Brussels, but he does follow soccer, and he did follow his son's reporting about me in the soccer news. So that's all I have. I hope you learned about Cleveland soccer and USA soccer and world soccer, all three. And I enjoyed the chance of talking to you about it. It was for many years that I did it, starting in 1953 and still continuing in 2023, so actually it's 70 years. So I'm lucky.